Hello everyone. We are here to present the paper entitled MORDigital, the Advent of a New Lexicographic Portuguese Project. This is a recent project which started in March this year, and it has received funding from the FCT, the Portuguese National Funding Agency for Science, Research and Technology. As mentioned, it started in 2021 and it will be funded over the next 3 years, so until 2024. As you can see, this is an international team, comprising researchers from various institutions and with different backgrounds, namely in the areas of terminology, linguistics, computer science, lexicography, and digital humanities. As you can see here in more detail, from Portugal we have the Nova Clume as head of the project, so the Linguistics Research Center of the Nova University in Lisbon. We also have the Lisbon Academy of Sciences, the Center for Languages, Literatures and Cultures from the University of Aveiro, and also the Rossio Infrastructure. From France, we have INRIA, Team Almanac, and also Arca-Science. From Italy, the Istituto di Linguistica Computazionale Antonio Zampoli, and also the Belgrade Center for Digital Humanities from Serbia. Following this preliminary information, here is the outline of our presentation. After a brief introduction, we will continue with a theoretical framework and the historical background of our project. More specifically, we will provide you with some information about the Morais Dictionary. The bulk of the presentation will be dedicated to the MORDigital project, with more concrete information about the objectives, the methodology, and the end product. Finally, there will be some concluding remarks. It is important to start by referring that the Dicionário da Língua Portuguesa by António de Morais Silva marks the beginning of modern Portuguese lexicography and serves indeed as a model for all subsequent lexicographic production throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. The MORDigital project aims to produce high-quality and searchable digital versions of the first 3 editions, 1789, 1813, and 1823, of the Morais Dictionary, in order to preserve this important European heritage work. These digital versions will be then converted into structured data and made publicly available with the purpose of guaranteeing the preservation of this legacy resource. Ultimately, this project aims to make a substantial contribution to the scientific community and aspires to apply innovative computational methodologies. As regards the theoretical framework of this article, it is important to mention that lexicography has undergone a radical change in the past 2 decades. This paradigm shift is directly related to the advancement of digital humanities. Therefore, in our opinion, the perspective underpinning the construction of lexical resources presupposes rethinking the methodologies of the Portuguese lexicographic tradition, perceiving lexicography, terminology, ontologies, and computational linguistics as an integral part of the digital humanities, and this will imply a paradigm shift in the construction of dictionary resources. We believe that in this new paradigm, ontologies will play a key role in organizing and representing linguistic and metalinguistic knowledge, as well as supporting its operationalization and therefore its preservation in the long term. Furthermore, it is important to emphasize that the European lexicographic scenario is currently quite heterogeneous in what concerns, on the one hand, the types of existing lexicographic resources, and on the other hand, their structural component, which relates to how the data are represented, the adopted models, as well as the respective applied formats. In fact, the diversity of incompatible formats creates severe problems in the digital landscape, making it impossible to interconnect resources in their respective metadata and lexical data. Therefore, it is important to follow compatible standards and formats, and we will use that in our project as well, namely LMF, eLex 0, and Ontolex Lemon. Let us now provide some historical background on the time when the Dicionário da Língua Portuguesa by António de Morais Silva was produced. It was elaborated during the Age of Enlightenment, and the 18th century brought a renewal in several fields of knowledge, namely those concerning the description of living languages. This at a time when Latin was still the language of instruction. The publication of the Morais Dictionary in 1789, as mentioned before, inaugurated modern Portuguese lexicography. Let us now elaborate a bit on the Morais Dictionary itself. As regards the authorship, it is interesting to note that Morais does not claim to be the author, assigning this condition to Bluetô, author of the Vocabulário Português and Latino. However, Morais recognizes in the Prólogo ao Leitor, prologue to the reader, that the additions he brought to the dictionary are quite relevant. The Morais Dictionary represents the first modern work to systematize the lexicon of the Portuguese language, a model and example for all the ones that followed. The first edition was first published in 2 volumes. Firstly, from the letters A to K in a total of 752 pages, and then from the letters L to Z with 541 pages. The following 2 editions, as mentioned before from 1813 and 1823, are considered new dictionaries due to both their enrichment and the updating. Here is a picture of the Frontispiece of Morais, the first volume of 1789. After having provided some information on the theoretical framework underpinning the article, as well as the historical background of the Morais Dictionary, let us now focus on MORDigital, the project itself. As you can see, the aims of the project are to encode the selected editions of Dicionário de Língua Portuguesa by António de Morais Silva, creating a digitalization of that dictionary. Secondly, it aims to promote accessibility to cultural heritage while fostering reusability and contributing also towards a greater presence of lexicographic digital content in Portuguese through open tools and standards. Finally, it also aims to connect data and metadata within the same lexicographic resource and also between different resources through the web of data. Further aims of the project include concentrating on the linguistic and lexicographic knowledge that permeates the entire project and contributes to the necessary systematization of data and metadata, also to add value of bringing a historical resource into the linguistic linked open data cloud in a language that is still underrepresented, such as Portuguese, and finally, to put forward a methodology that can be replicated in other legacy paper dictionaries, using tools that allow the automatic extraction of lexicographic content, as well as the modernization of the spelling in an automated way. As far as now the methodology of the project is concerned, we will start by analyzing all components that comprise the dictionary's macro and microstructure. Following that, we will identify, organize, and describe the different levels of linguistic knowledge to apply the aforementioned standards in a systematic way. After that, we will develop methodologies that can be replicated for other applications and test the alignment of the different encodings of Morais. We will also participate in reviewing the corresponding standards as members of the standard bodies and scientific forums. We also believe it is important to propose best practices for harmonizing the encoding of lexicographic resources. Finally, it is also relevant, extremely relevant, to make Morais available via an open access platform. In fact, our methodology is based on 5 central axes, which you can see here. The first one being high-quality retro-digitization of Morais and automatic structuring of the lexical content for the creation of a computer-readable resource. The second one refers to the lexicographically oriented language description. The third one refers to the Morais encoding using the eLex 0 specifications mapped to the LMF standard and their respective serializations, as well as to OntoLex Lemon. The fourth axis refers to the creation of an ontology for alignment purposes, and the fifth and final one refers to the conception of a platform for Morais, enriched with both lexicographic and ontological modules. Furthermore, and also in what concerns the methodology, We aim to transform the native encoding format into a TEI XML compliant one. The encoding will be based on TEI standards according to the TEI Lex 0 specification. In addition, the LMF metamodels will also be used and transformed into advanced techniques for semi-structured text acquisition. As a result, we will get a model of a historical dictionary whose entries are structured in a standard format, namely TEI Lex 0. Plus, we aim at the creation of an ontology, as mentioned before, of all the previously identified and systematized labels, for example, domain labels, register labels, grammar labels, among others. This will be implemented by resorting to Protégé, a free open-source ontology editor, and this ontology will be represented in OWL. Moreover, we will also aim at the alignment of the dictionary versions, which will be carried out in stages. Firstly, the alignment of the entries, secondly, the alignment of the senses, and thirdly, the alignment of other lexicographic content. Finally, we also aim to build a platform, as mentioned before, that integrates all Morais versions while also mapping the different heterogeneous annotation models. This will enable us to provide access to high-quality digital lexicographic content, enhanced further by ontologies. In this regard, it is also important to note that we aim for our lexical resources to maintain the original spelling. However, making a resource available to the public today, and considering the prevalence of search engines, requires the modernization of the spellings, especially at the lemma level. This means that the original spelling of the lemma will have to be aligned with more current spellings. To this end, the original forms will be noted as a lemma, but we will first match them with the most current spellings, as well as simultaneously work on their encoding in the XML annotation file. Overall, what do we expect to get as an end product? Well, we expect to have encoded a vital heritage dictionary, compliant with the most advanced standards for scholarly digital editions, and made available via an open license. It is also important for us to mention that the versions will be accessible and searchable through an advanced interface, which will enable the selective querying of text by lemma and also type of lexicographic content. In our view, the project will have significantly contributed towards the analysis of and annotation of dictionaries through computer-assisted processes. Let us now focus on our concluding remarks. We would like to start by saying that this project will represent a substantial contribution to the scientific community, aiming to create innovative and data-driven computational methods for text digitization and encoding, also based on the comprehensive analysis of both lexicographic articles and their respective components. We will also run tests on automatic text capture, and this will help refine processes and techniques, advancing the state-of-the-art regarding semantic annotation of semi-structured documents. A rigorous linguistic treatment will make it possible to organize and structure the lexicographic components, as well as to elicit lexical relationships between various elements. The linking mechanisms of the resulting structured dictionary to other resources will constitute, in our opinion, a prototype that can be replicated in other works, namely in the Portuguese-speaking world. Overall, MORDigital will be a user-friendly open-access web interface, equipped with a robust research system that will not only facilitate the search on a more traditional lexicographic perspective, but will also allow undertaking research on various types of structured lexicographic and terminological information. It is also important to note that combining semasiological and onomasiological approaches applied to the 3 editions of Morais will be possible through the inclusion of ontologies, namely in what concerns diasystematic marking, for example, domain labels, registers, and part-of-speech categories. Ultimately, this method will make a new type of dictionary emerge, which will contribute to creating a digital linguistic resource that is central, we believe, to digital humanities. Our end users will be predominantly scholars dealing with language and historical issues. Before we finish, we would just like to make reference to the important acknowledgements that need to be made in this respect, and that you can see here. And with this, we end our presentation. We would like to thank everyone for your attention, and we are now available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.